Every AI coding video ends one of two ways: a flawless demo that smells fake, or a dramatic meltdown for the views. Mine is neither. This is one real feature in my own product, from a one-line idea to code shipped into the product. And the honest story is that the AI never went off the rails. I'll show you exactly why. Here's the core idea up front, because it's the whole video. Never ask AI to build the feature. Ask it to build the plan. Then make it code in slices you can verify in under 5 minutes each. That's the difference between AI wrote some code and AI shipped my feature. And it's the reason this build stayed boring in the best possible way. Everything else hangs off that one rule. The feature is real from my SaaS a history screen. Users see everything they've generated, scoped to their own permissions, filterable by type and date, with a Spotify-style player so they can replay their audio right from the list. That touches 4 layers: an EF core query, a service, an API endpoint, and a UI with a player. Exactly the kind of feature where AI assistants usually wander, not because the model is bad, but because nobody managed it. And it doesn't matter which assistant you use: Cursor, Claude Code, Copilot. Today they're my examples. Tomorrow it'll be something else. The loop stays the same. That's why it's worth learning. Most people would open their AI tool and type, "Add a history page." Then, they're surprised when it invents its own data shape and ignores the auth layer. Instead, my first session produces 0 code. I tell the AI, we're going to spec a feature. Ask me questions one at a time until you could hand this to another developer. And the AI starts asking things I hadn't fully thought through. Should history show items the user deleted? What about generations that are still processing? Do they appear with a pending state? How do filters combine type and date, or either? A user with thousands of items, pagination, or infinite scroll. And my favorite, what happens to the player if the user changes a filter mid-playback? 10 minutes of this and I have a spec. Inputs, outputs, edge cases, and the part almost everyone skips: acceptance criteria. Concrete sentences like, the history list contains only items the requesting user is permitted to see. If you can't check it, it's not a criterion, it's a wish. Why does this matter so much? Because a vague prompt doesn't fail loudly. It fails quietly, 3 files deep, in code that looks plausible. The spec is cheap insurance. Every minute here saves you many in rework. The AI is the intern with infinite typing speed. The spec is how you stop paying for that speed later. Escayus. Now I take the spec and ask for a plan, with a constraint that does all the heavy lifting. Every step must be independently verifiable in under 5 minutes. Not build the back end, then the front end. That's 2 giant leaps of faith. Instead, vertical slices. Slice 1. The history endpoint returns a hard-coded page of items in the agreed shape. I can hit it and see it. Slice 2. Real data through EF Core. No filters yet. Slice 3. Filters apply. Slice 4. Permission scoping, with a test that proves a user never sees someone else's items. Slice 5. The UI list. Slice 6. The player. Notice what each slice has. A definition of done I can observe. Ducks. This is what makes AI coding manageable. If something drifts inside a 5-minute slice, I lose 5 minutes. Inside a 2-hour build the whole thing prompt, I'd lose the afternoon and get code I don't understand. I save this plan as a file in the repo, not bureaucracy context. Next session, the AI reads the plan and knows exactly where we are. Now, and only now, code. 1 slice at a time. Implement slice 1 from the plan. Don't touch anything else. Here's the part where, in most videos, everything catches fire. It didn't. Slice after slice landed, and the whole build stayed on rails. I want to be precise about why, because it's the entire point. Not because AI doesn't make mistakes. It does, constantly, in small ways. But because the loop catches them while they're still small. Here's what reviewing every diff actually caught on this feature. 3 real examples. First, overfetching. The first version of the EF Core query pulled entire entities, including the heavy payload columns, just to render a list. It worked. It would have been slow at scale. One review pass, one instruction. Project only the fields the list needs. 30 seconds to catch. One prompt to fix. Second, a stray dependency. For mapping, the AI reached for a library we don't use. This codebase maps by hand, on purpose. The code was fine. It just didn't belong here. We don't use that here, follow the existing pattern. Gone. Third, convention drift. A method name and a folder placement that didn't match how every other service in the project is shaped. Harmless today, confusing in 6 months. Caught in review, fixed in a minute. None of these are dramatic. That's the honest reality of this workflow. Disciplined, slightly boring, and steady. I read every diff like a pull request from a very fast, very confident junior developer. And because the slices are small, each review takes minutes. That's the payoff of step 2. Review is only cheap when diffs are small. Small diffs, small corrections, no fires. The feature works on my machine. It is not done. Last pass, 3 prompts. First, write tests for the acceptance criteria in the spec. And notice, the spec pays off again. The tests aren't invented. They're the criteria we wrote in step 1. The permission scoping test matters most. Prove a user's history never leaks anyone else's items. Second, review this whole diff as a security-focused senior engineer. What would you flag? It's remarkably good at critiquing its own code when you make it wear a different hat. Here it flagged that the history endpoint had no page size cap. A client could request everything at once. Legitimate catch, one more small slice. Third, I make it update the docs and write the PR description from the plan file. Free, and better than what I'd write at 6 p.m. Then it ships into the product. From one-line idea to a feature my users touch. A few hours, most of it spent thinking, not typing. Which is exactly how it should feel. So here's the whole system on one screen. Spec with the AI, slice the plan into verifiable pieces, implement one slice at a time, review every diff, harden before you ship. Notice what's not in that list. Any specific tool, any specific model. Tools will change, probably before this video hits 10,000 views. The loop won't, because it's not an AI trick. It's just engineering, applied to a very fast, very literal collaborator. And notice what the honest version of this story is. Not AI never makes mistakes. It made several. You watched me catch them. The claim is smaller and more useful. AI doesn't go off the rails for me, because the loop doesn't give it room to. The reliability isn't in the model. It's in the process, which means it's yours to have, whatever tool you're holding. If you want to see this loop under real pressure, next up I'm using it to debug a code base the AI has never seen. Code I didn't write either. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And tell me in the comments, what's the one feature you'd hand to an AI tomorrow if you trusted the process? Best answer might become a video.